I give you the Rosa Parks of our movement, Edie Windsor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, let me talk to you. Okay. First of all, thank you legally for this honor for both Roberta Kaplan and myself. Robbie could not be here tonight, and so I will speak for both of us. But first, I want to tell you why I'm suing the United States of America. Some necessary background. My beloved late spouse, Thea Spire, and I lived together and loved each other for more than 4 decades, in sickness and in health, truly in love and joy until death did us part. We were introduced in 1963 in Greenwich Village. We danced together that night, and I wore a hole in my stocking. But we met after that at parties and dinners, and always we danced together, but it was like a magnet. As soon as we got close enough, we danced, and then we forgot all about each other in between. Okay. And then it wasn't until 2 years later, Memorial Day weekend of 1965, that we began dating. We became engaged with a circular diamond brooch in 1967 and stayed engaged for 40 years. And the diamond brooch was because I was working at IBM in a day when IBM was not what it is today, and one couldn't come out. So the idea was that if I wore an engagement ring, then people would want to know who he was and when they would meet him, because we were all very good friends. Anyhow, we lived through many carefree years, each with jobs we loved. I as a senior programmer at IBM, Thea as a clinical psychologist. We had great friends, and we partied, and we traveled, and we danced. Oh, we danced. Retired from IBM in 1975 and active in the personal computer user groups, I found a new career as a grassroots gay activist, engaged with almost every gay organization that existed. Meeting new friends, making them part of my life with Thea, bringing them home to her. Developing as ever interesting and life-changing love for the gay community. I gradually came out as a lesbian in all areas of my life. I received Stage's Lifetime Achievement Award in October 2010, 1 month before we filed my lawsuit. And as we lived, we also lived through the vicissitudes of aging and illness. In 1977, Thea was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which turns out to be progressive. So her first symptom was an incomplete, she could not complete her golf swing. From 1 cane and 2 crutches, manual wheelchair, in our later years, quadriplegia and a motorized chair. She never lost brain power or speech or her brilliant personality. And she piloted her wheelchair and her computer with her remaining left hand. She continued to work with patients until the day she died. In 1996, I had emergency coronary bypass surgery. In 2002, Thea was diagnosed with aortic stenosis, which ultimately is what killed her. And still we remain strong and joyous in our life, though, in love, and still we danced. We became domestic partners the first day it was offered in New York City, certificate number 80, and we, okay. Thank you. And we hope to be married in the United States. But in 2006, Thea received a lousy prognosis, max 1 year to live. And she got up the next morning and said, "Do you still want to get married?" And I said, yes. So we did indeed. We were married in May 22nd, 2007 in Canada. In 41 years of living together and loving each other, we never thought of ourselves as single. So what could be different? It turns out marriage could be different. There's magic in the word, and it didn't occur to us that people would see us differently as a legally married couple, but they did. When our wedding announcement ran in the New York Times, we heard literally hundreds of people from every stage of our lives. When my beautiful, sparkling Thea died in February 2009, I was overcome with grief. Within a month, I was hospitalized with a heart attack characterized as broken heart syndrome. Subsequent in-hospital complications left me very fragile. Grieving and ill, I had to contend with the immediate effects of that cruelly misnamed Defense of Marriage Act, known as DOMA. Although New York State considered us married, the federal government did not. So the government taxed what I inherited from Thea as though we were strangers rather than spouses. I paid $363,000 in federal estate tax, known to some of us as the gay tax. There was an additional $200,000 in New York State estate tax at the time. Okay. God, this sounds like we were very rich, but in fact, most of that tax came from 40 years of inflation on an apartment and a country cottage that had cost $300,000 altogether, including the mortgages. So just living together for 40 years of inflation made it a big estate. If my spouse was Thea instead of Theo, the amount would have been zero, even if I had met Theo yesterday and married him then. Now, approaching my 84th birthday, I still live in that apartment and I live on a fixed income. Paying that tax was not easy. Overwhelmed by my sense of injustice and unfairness, I decided to enter a lawsuit against the government, seeking to get back my money because DOMA is unconstitutional. I've got to go on, okay? And now the second part of my story. Roberta Kaplan, the legally honoree who couldn't make it here tonight, is a litigation partner at Paul Weiss et al., a law firm which has a proud tradition of representing LGBT events and causes in a wide variety of pro bono matters. Roberta, Robbie to all of us, has been described as thrives on looking at the big picture, whether in the gay marriage legal fight or high-profile corporate scandals. She was chosen by the National Law Journal as one of the top 40 under 40 lawyers in the United States, as a New York, quote, super lawyer, and as one of the 500 leading litigators in the United States. This year, to top it off, the National Law Journal names her one of the 100 most influential lawyers in the United States. Okay, yeah. Thank you for her and for me. She has an undergraduate degree from Harvard and a law degree from Columbia. In 2006, she argued the case before the New York Court of Appeals, challenging New York State's refusal to permit same-sex marriage. The defeat there is thought by many to have established the groundwork for New York State's move to equality in marriage, and for me when I went looking for legal assistance. At a time when the gay organizations responded with, quote, "It's the wrong time for the movement," Robbie Kaplan, as did Martin Luther King before her, said there is no wrong time to seek justice, answered my plea, and took me in. Led by Robbie, who enlisted the support of James Essex of ACLU, the New York CLU, and Pamela Carmel, who was the co-director of Stanford Law School's Supreme Court Litigation Clinic. Windsor, that's me, has been on a roll. Okay. In addition to, one, convincing the Obama administration to change its mind and decide to no longer defend the constitutionality of DOMA. Two, persuading the district court that there was no rational basis for DOMA and that it was unconstitutional. Three, we also won the first ever decision by a federal appellate court holding that laws like DOMA that discriminate against gay people should no longer be presumed to be constitutional and should be subject to heightened judicial scrutiny. That's a very big deal, and we hope we'll get that in the end as well. Okay. Okay, I have to tell you that during this period, the House of Representatives, spending millions of taxpayer dollars, defended and lost to us in the district court and in the Second Circuit, and lost also in all of the DOMA cases across the country in the lower courts. And four, Roberta Kaplan, our counsel of record, argued our case in the Supreme Court on March 27th. When she argues DOMA, she is cool and calm and reasoned and informed, all of which is sustained by her deeply felt passion for equality for all of our lives. And I can't stop smiling when I remember minutes in that Supreme Court when I heard Justice Kennedy say, his approximate words were, "What about 40,000 children in California?" Okay, that's significant for us. And then again, when someone quoted an opposition study from a pediatrics group of 80 members, and Robbie Kaplan countered with the contrary information attested to by the American Academy of Pediatrics with 60,000 members. Okay. We are awaiting the court's decision probably in late June. People ask how I felt when the Supreme Court announced that it would take my case. I felt elated, and I suddenly felt important to the LGBT community, which brought me out and which nourished me, and solemn. I thought what might happen if we win. I thought about the country giving legal recognition to our marriages now and all of them in the future. And I thought about teenagers falling in love for the first time and knowing they would not be excluded from marriage. I thought about the children of gay couples no longer having to defend the legitimacy of their families. I thought about the beginning of the end of stigma and ultimately the end of abuse and bashing and internalized homophobia and closets and lying about who we are and of suicides. Part 3 of my speech is devoted to LIGALY, which is very appropriate here, okay, and its extraordinary growth. 20 years ago, when I sent $100 for just forming LIGALY, or when I sent my contribution to cover one couple for the prom, I didn't dream of the possibility of this giant LIGALY addressing the needs of 60,000 LGBT youth and family members annually. With mental health, education, training, outreach, recreation, prevention and support. And now also operating a network of affiliates, of which EGO, my home organization, belongs, that provide services to the Long Island GLBT community throughout the lifespan. And with 2 community centers, as we saw earlier, we're about to go for a third. And, in the Hamptons, where we very much need it. LIGALY has been selected for the 2013 Suffolk County Human Rights Commission Award for its support, commitment, and dedication to the advancement of human and civil rights, and so well earned. I suspect my $100 might not be enough anymore. Thank you again, LIGALY. I'm so proud to be part of your network, and I feel so honored to receive this award for my brilliant lawyer, Robbie Kaplan, and myself. Thank you. Thank you.